It's game time, everybody. We are live with the community. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Microsoft Speakers Community Call. My name is David Warner with Quisitive, and I am filling in for Vesa while he is on a well-deserved vacation. We wish him all the best and hope he is having fun. So let's talk about what it is we're going to talk about today. The agenda, we're going to talk about the latest updates and news on Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, the latest news across Microsoft blogs. We're going to have our favorite time, which is picture time, right? So get those fantastic faces ready to go. And then we've got three fantastic, amazing, superlative, incredible demos to kick us off into the summer break for this call. First one's going to be Garry with improving your app security with Dev Proxy. Sam Betts is going to be here to round out building Copilot Feedback Bot for collecting feedback from users. And our favorite Mr. Rodgers, Patrick Rodgers, is here to talk about introducing granular application permissions. So buckle up, everybody. It's going to be a fantastic, crazy ride. But first, let's talk about some resources that are available to each and every one of you in the community for the low, low price of nothing. That's right, absolutely free. First one is our Microsoft Community Learning Videos YouTube channel. If that name is new to you, don't worry, I'll tell you more about it in a moment. But it's a YouTube channel full of amazing resources and videos like these calls and demos from the community and all the great work that you're all doing. We also have our LinkedIn group for discussions and updates. So if you'd like to collaborate in the LinkedIn space, absolutely, we're welcoming you there. We've got our open source tooling. We've got our sample galleries that span the spectrum of technology from Teams to SPFX to Power Platform to list formatting. You need a sample? We likely got it. And again, absolutely free. So all you got to do is remember one URL, aka.ms/community/home. That will take you to all the goodness that is available in our community. And when you get there, it's going to look something like this. So if you haven't been there in a while and you go, wait a second, what happened? Am I in the wrong place? Nope. We just got a reface on our site. So it's looking fantastic. It's utilizing all of the branding from across our technology stack. Big thanks to Stefan Bauer and Hugo Bernier for putting in the work and the rest of the team for helping test it and get everything ready for you all in the community. So it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for you to be able to access those resources, and we're trying to make it easier and more enjoyable. And I mentioned that YouTube channel, Microsoft Community Learning. What does that mean? Well, it's the same old that we always loved. Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community just has been transitioned over to Microsoft Community Learning. And we're doing that so that there's a little bit more inclusivity in some of the other non-Power Platform or non-Microsoft 365 technologies like Dynamics 365 or some other Copilot-y stuff. I think we've been talking about Copilot now. Anybody heard of that? I think it's something new. But we know it and we love it. So we're going to make sure that everything is welcome in that YouTube channel. All right? So check it out. Make sure you subscribe, smash that like button for any video that you watch, and sign up to be alerted for all the videos. And if you're on this call, chances are you like community calls. The good news is we got plenty. The bad news is this call on Tuesday is going to go on a summer break for July and August. So it'll be back the 3rd of September. I know everybody will be waiting and they'll be happy and they'll be excited for the 3rd of September, but don't worry. There are other calls all throughout the week that is going on all summer. So we've got our monthly Power Platform call, which happened last week. That's the 3rd Wednesday of every month. We've got our monthly Office add-ins. And then we've got our 2 sibling bi-weekly calls, the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community, which was last week, and our Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework, which is next week. This week. And so definitely go sign up for all of those. You can access them at ak.ms/community/calls. That will give you availability to all the calls. And if you want to see the agendas in advance, you go to the meetup there, ak.ms/community/meetup, and we always publish those the week before. So you're able to kind of see what the agenda is for those that are upcoming. You can actually subscribe there on the meetup, and you'll be alerted when the new ones drop as well. So it's a great way to stay involved and get to know exactly what's going on. And if you're watching those videos or those calls and you're thinking, you know, there's some really cool stuff being shown here, and I actually have some cool stuff to show. We know you do. We welcome you to actually show it off. Don't overthink this, everybody. Don't feel that you have to show some magical, mystical, transcending sample that is going to solve all the world's problems. If it's solving a problem for you in your world, we want to know about it. Even if it's a little demo, a little script, something, it's a utility, don't be afraid to share it with the world. And this is a great opportunity to do that. We welcome everyone. If you've never presented, let us know. If you want to be buddied up with a buddy, we can do that too. It's a great opportunity to get involved. And if you're looking to start speaking at events or something like that, these calls are a wonderful way to get started in that area. So fill out that URL, ak.ms/community/request/demo. Just rolls right off the tongue, I know, but fill it out and we'll get back with you. Now, there's a lot of other getting started assets available for the Microsoft Cloud as well. Our Dev program, which historically gave out free E5 tenants. We know that that's on hold right now, but we've also got our Learn modules for Power Platform and Microsoft 365. I know as Vess is working on those opportunities for that Dev program, we all hope it will be back soon enough, but you're not left with nothing. You can absolutely sign up for a single account tenant. Again, I know this costs money, but it's $6 a month, which is not much, because the beautiful thing about this is it's actually your tenant. It'll never be taken away because you're paying for it, right? And Microsoft wants that. So you'll be able to take advantage of all the things that are available for a paid tenant, which can be a little bit more suitable for what it is you're trying to do. So you have full control. So it's not a huge price. Understand it is a price, but again, it's an opportunity to take full control of that. So you can learn more at aka.ms/m365/subscriptions. We've also got a number of Microsoft 365 and Power Platform shows. Of course, Vessa and Waldick run PNP Weekly, which has been long-standing now. Wonderful opportunity to get to know others in the community. There's the Microsoft, or Mondays at Microsoft with Caruana and Heather, and of course, the Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast. These are fantastic ways to kind of get to know what's going on in the community, learn some more about those community members through the things like PNP Weekly. And I know there's a couple more shows here that are coming up here soon, so we're excited to debut them. And I mentioned those samples. We have almost over 2,000 samples. I think that number is actually wrong. I think we're over 2,000 now. Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Sample Gallery. This is the global sample gallery, which brings together all the samples from a variety of stacks, things like Power Platform, Power BI, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, list formatting, all kinds of stuff. And again, absolutely free of charge. So definitely check that out, ak.ms/community/samples. And if you're wondering, how do I use those samples? They use a thing called GitHub. What is this hub of Gits that's Git of Hubs? Well, Sharing is Caring is a program that's here to help you learn more about that. We just had a session yesterday, so we're getting a new date scheduled. It was great. We had a number of people join in. We did a live session, and what it is we do live sessions for things like contributing to the community. So we walk you through how to contribute to GitHub. It is live. We are hands-on. We're working together, and it's a safe space, meaning that we don't record it. So you don't have to worry about asking a question that you feel everyone should already know the answer to. I know I do that all the time. I'm hesitant to ask questions because I think, should I already know this? If it's being recorded, is it going to be recorded forever? Don't worry. It's a safe space. It's a wonderful opportunity. So be on the lookout, ak.ms/sharing is caring for that next schedule. And we'll tweet it out as soon as we get it scheduled in the next few days. So join in. I know plenty on the call have done it. Some were there yesterday, and we really appreciate you doing that. And thank you, Dom. And I know John wants to get more involved too, so we're getting more involved, folks involved to help out so that we can scale that as well. We know it's been dormant for a while, and it's been back the last couple months, and we're looking to scale it as well. All right. And of course, once you do contribute, we want to recognize you with our community recognition program. And this is absolutely free of charge. This is powered by Credly. Yes, you get those accredited badges that are formal and official. You can show them off on LinkedIn. You can put them on your blog, on your resume. And again, we joke about putting them on the fridge, but that's just because we're so proud of you. But the beauty and the reality is that you are making a difference in the community, and that sets you a stage up above maybe your competitors. If you're working in a consultancy, or maybe you're working in an organization where you want to show your manager, you're taking an extra step. This is our way of giving back. It is no cost to you. We actually cover the cost with Credly. All we ask you to do is opt in, ak.ms/community/recognition, and we're going to be coming out with some summer samples badges. We're going to be coming out with our multiverse contributor. April Dunham had a great idea for Promptober, right, for Copilot and other AI generative opportunities. And of course, we're going to also have our season of Getting coming up at the end of the year, all those that everyone knows and loves. So be on the lookout for that. We absolutely love to recognize you and appreciate all the work that you're doing. And we also have some events coming up. So TechCon 365, Seattle has passed us by, but DC and Dallas are both on the horizon. So check out that if you are looking in that area. It's a wonderful event ran by the community, and we invite everyone to check it out. Of course, there's also the Power Platform coming up, Power Platform Conference, the PPCC, Power Platform Community Conference 24 coming up in Vegas. That's an awesome opportunity we see here. Charles was out on the big stage in the arena. That is a event unlike any other. You definitely want to experience that keynote. It is super, super cool, and you will not forget it. Of course, there are plenty of other events going on in the community, and you can access them at communitydays.org. A number across the July, August, September timescape. So check those out if they're within your local areas. Some of them are virtual, some of them are hybrid, some of them are in person. You want to check out which are which, but you could also, again, do that at communitydays.org. And last but not least, before we get to our picture time, is we have a new series here called Copilot Prompts. So we welcome everyone to submit to this repository. It's an opportunity for you to kind of share with the world the different prompts that are available. We have some for Power Platform that I know April's been assisting with, and this is from Rabia Williams and her team, Bob German. So we appreciate everybody leaning in here. And in fact, we want to have a prompt of the weeks, right? So this one is from Reed. The prompt is, I'd like for you to act as my executive assistant. Who doesn't want an assistant? Can you tell me when my next meeting is, who will be attending, and what time the meeting is all about? I tried doing that with my kids, and they just looked at me and slammed the door. I don't know, they were still asleep at noon. But not Copilot. Copilot's going to help you out. So check it out, Reed. Thank you for this. Excellent job. We really appreciate the community stepping in here and love this, so we love to recognize them. So, Reed, thank you. Great job. All right, everybody, get those cameras turned on. It is picture time. So let's move over to together mode and hope it is working today. We will go to the amphitheater and let's see if this works. Okay, it looks like it's trying to load. Come on, teams. Do it. Oh, wah, wah, wah.
Do it.
There we go. Woo! Just was like kind of had to be woken up. All right, we got a few more seats available for everybody. You want to turn those cameras on? I see Don has got the head bob going on. All right. Give everybody an opportunity. A few more seconds. We're doing good on time. So Gary is getting ready. All right, let's kick this off. And 3, 2, 1. All right, wave to the community, everybody. You're looking fantastic. Really appreciate everything you're doing. Ooh, got some of those faces and smiles, waves. Love it. We're a little blurry today, but we're still showing it off. Excellent. You all are amazing. Okay. Well, without any further ado, let's move into our fantastic presenters. The first is Garry Trinder, the one and only, improving your app security with Dev Proxy. Gary, want to take it on over?
Thank you, David. Yeah. Okay, let's share my screen. Play everything through. And let me know if you can see that.
Yep, loaded. Looks great.
Perfect. Okay, so hey everyone, my name is Garry Trinder. I'm a cloud developer advocate at Microsoft, and today I'm going to show you how you can improve your app security using Dev Proxy. So we're going to go straight into basically a scenario, right? So we have a scenario building an app for Microsoft 365. Got a product support team at Contoso. They're managing products. They use Planner for handling customer queries. Okay, tickets. They're in here every single day, but they want an app to just kind of see, a glance. What's the things that they need to keep on top of, right? So they've come up with an idea of, hey, we'll build an app, right? We'll build a web page. We can put this in different places, put it in the office, display it in different places. And they've created this app, okay, which uses Microsoft Graph to go and get the data from Planner. And it's all displayed there. They can get this visual information. It updates because obviously it's connected data directly to Graph. And they've built this, which is great. But the developer that's built it has built it in developer tenant. And when you're a developer tenant, you can do whatever you like. You can, create app registrations. You can add permissions to your app registration, and you need to get this onto production. And as a developer, you generally do not have access to production. You have to talk to an administrator, be nice, and say, "Hey, come on, I need to create an app registration so that my app can actually access this data." And this is where we can find problems, because the developer will say, "Hey, I need these scopes," and the administrator will be like, "Okay, great, but really, do you need these scopes?" It's like, security is an important thing, right? We don't want to give, we want to have apps with permissions with more than what they actually need. So you're in a kind of a situation here as a developer. do you actually know what the minimal scopes are needed for your app to actually function? And from a developer standpoint, how can you actually verify that this app is actually using those minimal scopes as well? And then a third thing is, once you've identified, what the minimal scopes are, you're happy that the app is using those minimal scopes, is over time, this app is going to change. You're going to add more permissions. So how do you prevent the scope creep on your permissions over time? What I'm going to show you today is I'm going to show you how Dev Proxy is going to solve all three of those problems when you're working with apps that are getting data from Microsoft Graph. So if you've not heard about Dev Proxy is a developer utility. Maybe you've heard us talk about using Dev Proxy to simulate API behaviors like errors, throttling, those kind of things. But one side of Dev Proxy is that it's actually a really good developer utility that can provide you guidance as well, such as, are the scopes that you're using in your app the most minimal for the request that you're actually issuing. So I'm going to come into our app here. So this is our app. It's just a basic HTML page, which is issuing requests to Microsoft Graph. So we're using the Microsoft Graph SDK. We could be sending requests using any HTTP client, but we've chosen to use the SDK, making it easier. We get benefits of using the retry mechanisms that are already built into the SDK. And we make a call to Graph, right? And we go and get the tasks back from the planner. We basically filter things out so we can get the counts and things for the number of high priority tickets that we've got, and then we render the table with the links back to the actual tickets. Okay, so based on this, how do I know what the minimal scope is? Okay, so using Proxy, we can create config files. We have one called minimal permissions here. So the way that Dev Proxy works is that you give it a config file, and that config has plugins inside it. And plugins is kind of like the behavior of what features you want to use with Dev Proxy. With this, we're using a minimal permissions plugin. So it's going to tell us, here's the minimum amount of scopes that you need for the requests from your app. So what we can do is we can send, we can start Dev Proxy here from the command line, and we can define the config file. So we're using minimal permissions in here, and we say, I want you to watch any requests that go to Graph, and I want you to record them as well. So we need to put it in recording mode so it actually tracks these, and it can basically evaluate based on the request what permissions are actually needed. So let's run this. Okay, so we've started Dev Proxy and we're in recording mode. If I go back to my app and then I refresh, stop. Oop, that didn't quite work. Just a second. Let me just close all this down and restart. That was a demo god not working correctly. It's still running. Never running. Just realized the copy and paste, folks.
Oh man,
always make sure that you check. The typo, that was the issue. Okay, so let's restart this. Hopefully, yep. Okay, so we've had a request come through. So we've had the request issued from our app. I'm going to stop recording, and this plugin has returned and said, "Hey, task.read is the minimal permissions that you want because you're just reading tasks, right? Brilliant. Okay." So now from a developer standpoint, I know exactly which scope is going to give me like least privilege. Okay, so from a security standpoint, I can't get any more lower than this for my app to actually work. I'm going to stop proxy and we're going to go to the other side now. So instead of checking minimal permissions, we're going to check for excessive permissions. And here we have another config file, very similar to the other one there. We're just using a slightly different plugin. Again, we're going to watch on the graph requests, and I'm going to hit record again. And let's go back to our app and just run this. And I come back. Okay, yep, so it's the same request that's gone through. Let's stop. And now this is slightly different in the fact that it's evaluated the permissions against this one request. So if I had an app that was sending multiple requests, lots of requests, these would all be tracked. And then it would say, based on these requests, here are the minimal permissions that you need. So again, it's saying task.read is the one that you actually want. But look, we've actually found this app is not using task.read at all. In fact, it's using group.readwrite.all. Verification that just running Dev Proxy against this app, and I could just be an administrator here. Developer could give me a URL to just run Dev Proxy against it. It doesn't have to be running locally on my machine. They can check and verify that that is actually the case. So from an administrator perspective, this kind of provides a lot of assurance that, hey, yeah, actually, this isn't this app is using high permissions that it needs, but also that it's using the correct permissions as well. So if we go back to our app now, so one of the things that you'll notice we've authenticated, right? And we've been able to quickly just send requests from our browser to the graph, already authenticated. We've already got an access token, and Dev Proxy is sat in the middle. But this is all very manual, right? I have to run proxy every single time to check. And I talked about using proxy to prevent scope creep as well. So here's where we can automate these checks. And the way that we can automate these checks is by using like an end-to-end testing tool. So like Playwright, for example, where Playwright can basically interact with the page and do the clicking around to generate the requests. And Proxy can sit there in the middle, capture those requests, and then give a report. One of the other things that Proxy can do is it's a really good mocking tool as well. So at the moment, every request is actually going to Microsoft Graph. We can use Dev Proxy to sit in the middle so that we can actually mock these requests. We have a plugin here called the Mock Generator plugin, which we can use to generate these mocks and create mock files. So in here, I have a number of mock files. I have a graph mock file. So this is the graph request that we've already seen. And here is the data that can be returned. So from our testing point of view, we know that we're always going to get the same data back so that we can write our tests. We don't have to deal with changing values. And we can also mock authentication as well. So in here, we're actually mocking the access token and the authorization as well. So the whole flow can run offline, which means if we're running everything offline, we can use Playwright to do that testing without actually hitting Graph. Which is really, really useful. Another thing as well that we can do is not just HTTP requests, but we can also mock images as well. So we have image mocks. In here, I'm actually using a placeholder service. So again, this isn't running on my machine. But from a testing point of view, I want these images to appear so that my tests are correct. So I've actually mocked these as well, used the plugin from Dev Proxy to generate these mocks and to also get the files. So we have our SVG files in here as well. So that means that what we can do is we have another config file here, which does quite a lot. So I'm going to step through this. So this plugin will mock authentication. It will mock graph. It will mock our image requests as well. It will also run the minimal permissions guidance plugin, and then we have a reporter as well. So before we saw that the output was just in the console. We don't really want that because we want a nice document. Say something in Markdown is nice and easily shared. You can commit that to some kind of source control if you wanted. Use the previews, and in here it's a little bit more involved. So what I can do is I can just run Dev Proxy beta record that set Dev Proxy into recording mode using this config. So it'll be doing the mocking as well. Just make sure. Right. Yep. Okay. So we've got everything loaded in here, and it's in recording mode. Right, okay, so now I mentioned I'm using Playwright to automate these tests. So I have a test here. Very simply, it's going to go to the landing page. It's going to log in. So there's a login step, which I didn't actually show just yet. So if you've been to an app that logs you in using Microsoft Entry, you'll usually see in the pop-up, you put your user details in, and then you get access to the app, or even consent to the permissions as well before you use the app. And then what it will actually do is it'll just make sure that, yeah, we've actually got something on the page, and we know that this is going to generate a request. So if I go to my test explorer here, I'm going to run my test. So there, the test has passed. And if I go to the terminal, look, you can see all these requests that have come through that have passed through Proxy. Proxy has mocked everything. And I can now stop this, and we get a report. So now in here, we have a Markdown file, which gives us the information for our minimal permissions report. But again, it tells us exactly the same information, which are the minimal scopes that we need, which are the permissions on the token, and which ones we don't actually need. Just to note, profile, OpenID, and email are added by the MSAL client. We don't actually request these. These just come on the token by rights. We're looking to remove these from the report as we go along, but it's highlighting the fact that we have a problem here. We need to fix that. We need to go into the code and change that and change our permissions as well. Now, that's all well and good. Again, it's a bit manual because I have to do this on my machine. If I'm working in a team, I want to make sure that we don't commit code that is using permission or too higher privileged scopes than are actually needed. What's great about this is you can use Dev Proxy and Playwright in CI/CD. So I have a GitHub workflow here, which will run when I push code, or I can run it manually. And what this does, this will go through and it will set up Playwright, and it will set up Dev Proxy, and it will run the same test as what I've done here locally, and then it will give us a summary output. And just to show you what that looks like is if we go to this GitHub repository, you can see here is one that I ran earlier. So here we have our summary report actually shown in the actions as well. Now, we've not decided to create any warnings or things like that, but we could easily do that, right? We could say, run this on a pull request. You've added some code in there. It's using these scopes. You shouldn't be using them. You should reduce the permission scope. But you can see how it's a nice way of basically being able to use the tools that you already maybe use, like Playwright for end-to-end testing, and then introduce Dev Proxy into the middle of that testing process to make sure that your apps are more secure going forwards and using the right levels of permissions. And what would be great as well is, the report is something that you can just send to your administrator. you can highlight this in your documentation. It's a nice, easy way of being able to just find, here are the scopes that we need, rather than having to go through all the documentation to find all the different requests that you might be issuing, and then manually going and finding that. So just head back. So everything that I've talked about today is public. It's in our documentation. We do have a release coming on Thursday, which is our 019 release. We have a few updates that are coming that improve this this feature. So if you're wanting to test it now, use the beta version of Proxy, and you can go through the getting started tutorial, which will run you through how to install it, how to use it, how to install the beta versions as well. But if you're happy to wait around till Thursday, and it will be released in our stable version. With that, David, back to you.
Awesome stuff, Garry. Now, question on the waiting around to Thursday. Do we have to stay on the call until Thursday, or can we like hang up? I kid. I know you're not meaning stay on the call.
Can if you
Excellent
like.
stuff.
You...
Gary's like, I'm not telling you what to do, but do what you want. All right, awesome stuff. Really appreciate it, Garry. This is a very, very cool tool, everybody. And again, absolutely free. How crazy is that? So really appreciate you spending some time to show everybody. All right, let's move on to Sam. Sam's going to show building Copilot Feedback Bot for collecting feedback from users. So Sam, if you'd like to take on over the screen share, show us what you got.
Cool. Well, let me introduce a new initiative that we have going. Briefly, provisionally called Copilot Feedback Bot. Not the most original name, perhaps, but I think it encapsulates what this is about. There's a little preview of him in the background, him or her. Yeah, it's a bot. So let's just start with the why. So we're increasingly see customers want to justify the cost of Copilot. Obviously, it's not free, and essentially, it comes down to the why. It comes down to proving the cost of that for our customers. So, we've heard some pretty wild estimates of time saving from all the way up to several millions of hours every day, etc., etc. And I figured, well, the best way of actually asking or gathering data on the feedback is to actually ask the people who are going to use it how much time they've saved. So that's the why in essence. We want feedback from users about Copilot, how it's working in your organization. Partly to prove the cost, and also if there are any issues, with people not enjoying it, not getting value out of it, maybe we can figure out why that is and introduce some sort of improvement program. Okay, so there we go. So that's the why. What is it? It is, in fact, a project on GitHub. It's in preview. There is a version that basically works. Essentially, it's a system that runs in your tenant. So it goes off, collects a bunch of data about Copilot usage within your org, plus some user data. We store it in your SQL Server. Okay, so that data lives forever under your own control. And then based off that usage data, we go asking people, how was Copilot? Isn't it amazing? Yes or no? Whatever. You'll see that in a minute. All right. So that's what it is. These slides are fairly basic. Will be done in a minute. Not really a slides person personally. Anyway, how does it work? A bit more detail. So we detect automatically user engagement. That we do through the audit log, actually. There are audit log events when people use Copilot. And with those events, we get things like if they used any documents, what meeting they were in. So there's kind of context information about each time they talk to Copilot. It's obviously possible as well that you can just talk to Copilot and not do anything even remotely productive. You can just get it to crack jokes all day if you wish. That too will appear. Probably not the jokes in this instance, but you'll see that there was a chat at least. Then based off that, so based off a concrete action with Copilot, we'll then go asking them, how was that then? Did you get anything out of that? Did you save any time? And a couple of questions, but we just want to get feedback about specific interaction. All right, so that is the part that is probably unique because we're looking at specific stuff that users have definitely done with Copilot. Okay. Cool. Then off the back of that, what we do is we report on the feedback that we get, as well as the interactions. And then as a final stage, we try and improve anyone who wasn't happy. We try and go out and figure why that was. All right. So briefly, data that we import to SQL. There are 3 elements really for usage data. You got Copilot, so who chatted to Copilot when. We've got SharePoint data, so what file was it, what site was that in, what was the file name, this kind of thing. And then for Teams, we've got the meeting. All right, so if right now I ask Copilot, or one of you guys ask Copilot to make a summary of the meeting, then that is an event that will come through along with the meeting in question as well. So that's the usage data. On the user metadata side, we read a bunch of stuff from Entra ID, Azure AD, if you like the classic name. So that's just stuff like department, country, manager, office location, and job title. So, we may find, for example, that sales guys really like it and all the techie guys hate it, for example. I don't know, I'm just making it up. But we want to be able to sort of split the results based on any of these demographics. So that's stuff that we import as well. Okay, I'm going to drop out of presenter view. Guess you can all see my screen still.
Yep.
Now I'm back to normal, just presenting. All right, so let me fire up the solution. So this is actually already available. I'll put it in the chat. You're welcome to go and have a poke, have a play.
Can you also maximize the window or increase the font size a little bit just so that they're in?
Yeah,
perfect.
Sorry, got a 4K screen here, so it's looks big to me. I'm all right. All right, so this is the bot. Anyone who's done any sort of bot development in C# will know it's just an ASP.NET app. It loads a couple of things. What I'm going to do is show you in Bot Emulator, the bot, just because I have a bit more control. Let me see if I can make that. There we go. All right, here's Copilot Bot. Yeah, any developers should recognize this tool. Very handy. All right. So as I mentioned in the PowerPoint, what we do, first of all, we see what's gone on. And now we're the bot comes in when we start to react to what we've seen happen in Copilot. Okay. And a user will see this bot and realize that it exists when it installs itself and then pops up its first message, right? Very similar to Company Communicator, if you know that one. All right, but I'm just showing you here because it's a great way of simulating an install, right? So, hi, I'm Copilot Feedback Bot. It looks like you've used Copilot, ergo we're having this conversation. Now, I can just tell it to go away. A key kind of element of this is that it's not too annoying, because if a bot's too annoying, it's not going to be used. It's just going to be blocked, so fine. Let's just say we want to start a survey. So here, what you can see is that it's picked up a specific action, one that I've made up in this instance for this demo, but it's referencing here a specific meeting where this user here would have used Copilot, and we just want a very quick, 1 to 5 rating. Okay, so obviously Copilot was brilliant, so let me hit that button. Fantastic. Copilot bot is happy with that. Now, if the user just bombs out at this point and doesn't respond, that's fine. We have the initial rating, and they're not required to fill out any more. But if they do want to fill out any more, then that is also brilliant. There's some stuff that they can add. Something that we're working on now is making this configurable, because every customer that I've spoken to has had different requirements for what they want to ask and so on. These questions here are actually the recommended questions that Microsoft suggest for measuring value. So we put those in. All right, so they can update that, and fantastic. As far as the user is concerned, that's pretty much it. The bot will come back at a later date, hopefully not too soon. At the moment, it's just once a day, if they do something else with Copilot, right? And so this bit here is a way of just automating the feedback loop for Copilot, right? Let me see if I do it again. I can obviously prompt it to give me another survey. So here's another one. I did something in this file. Again, I made up file name. Well, it was okay. It made some comment, it generated some comments that weren't great, for example. So not the best content. Again, so this is the loop that users will see. Just someone there saying, "Hi, I saw you use this thing. Just let me know how that was, or just go away, or whatever." Okay. So that's that mechanism. It ends up in SQL, so I'm afraid I cannot make this any bigger. But there's a bunch of tables in SQL that this ends up in, a nicely optimized database structure. But the more interesting part, I guess, is probably the Power BI side anyway. All right, so in this report, we basically have our usage stats and then our review stats, right? So we can see where Copilot has definitely been used in files and meetings, and also just generally how many interactions we've had. If I nip over here, again, we sort of break that down over time. So we should see, if it's a healthy rollout, we should see a general increase in adoption, okay, for the different areas of Copilot. Right now, we've only got support in for Teams meetings and Office editing and summarizing and that kind of thing. There will be more context to be added, but just for the time being, that's what we have. The more important thing, though, is the ratings. So these are the smiley face, or your angry face. Again, we should see a general improvement as time goes on. This is, by the way, fake data, so don't read too much into it. And we can break that down by department, because this is Power BI, and that's the kind of awesome stuff that's really easy. But the main thing, perhaps, is the time saved. So what we are looking for here is per action, we should see, or for all actions, we should see a general increase in time saved. And time saved is your money proposition right there, your investment paying itself back. So these stats are, again, from users that are doing very specific things every day. And this is from real usage, right? This isn't a case study that Microsoft is is telling you about this is your own organization, which is the most valuable feedback you can have, I think. Bonzi Buddy. I can't believe you say that's Bonzi Buddy. Look at this guy. Doesn't look anything like Bonzi Buddy. Anyway, so that's the feedback bot. You deploy it, it will start proactively installing itself as people start using Copilot. And this is the whole idea. I don't know if there's any questions. I've probably skipped over a bunch of stuff, so I can show you the stuff in the back end if you wish.
This is actually really, really cool stuff, Sam. We do have another presenter, though, just timing-wise, so we'll probably need to transition over to that. But there are some questions in the chat. We just have too many to actually make them audible-based. But if you want to check those out as we move into our next presenter, this is really, really awesome stuff.
Cool. Well, help yourselves, guys. It's ready for playing with right now.
Awesome. So, thank you for sharing. An excellent job. Welcome to the community call. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on and share this with everybody. Excellent. All right. Let's transition over to Mr. Rodgers' neighborhood, Patrick Rodgers, introducing granular SharePoint application permissions. Patrick, it's all yours.
Yeah, thanks, David. Thanks, everybody. So feels a little bit rushed here at the end, but we are introducing SharePoint application permissions. You may have heard me refer to this in the past as resource-specific consent, which we found to be a little bit of a confusing, overloaded term. So I'm going to try and move quickly through my demo so David has some time to close the call in just a few minutes. So I've got two applications set up here. One is called Demo App. One is called Demo App List Items. I have given those applications two different scopes. Demo App has the new lists.selectedoperations.selected, and Demo App List Items has list items.selectedoperations.selected. So this is very similar to the site selected, but due to new graph naming requirements for scopes, we've had to put this third piece in there. So just ignore that and think about list selected, list items selected. And then this is all in PPE. We've had a bit of a hiccup in getting things deployed. So I'll be demoing here in PPE. But I wanted to show you real quick. I've got some code here. I've set up PNP.js. You may have heard of that. And all of these operations are going to be done in delegated mode. So I'm going to try and do a quick request here and show you all that there's no tricks. Once this gets going. And so what this is going to do, what SharePoint application permissions allow us to do is grant applications permissions, not just at the site level anymore, but also to lists and specific list items or files. And so in this case, I'm going to just refresh this page, make sure we're doing what we think we're doing. I'm going to hit start, and you can see, as expected, we get a 403 because if we look back at our application here, it has this scope, but this scope itself does not actually grant any permissions to the application. It can't access anything until we add it to a specific list. So I've got up here in my thing, just trust me that this is the GUID of a list. And on the end of it now, we have a new endpoint here, /permissions. I'm going to do a post to that with this request body. And I think, can I make this? It won't really get any bigger, but this is my application ID, and I want to go in here and just double check, get the right application ID because I have two of them here, and go up here and get our application ID, and we're going to do a post request, and we get back that application permissions there. And if we do now back here, do a get on that same endpoint, we will see our application now has permissions that we gave it to this list. So let's go back to our application, and we're just going to run our little test app. And wait a minute, access denied. Well, hold on. Oh, I know. I'm delegated. I'm using delegated authentication in this case. So delegated authentication is always the intersection of user and application permissions. And the user I'm testing with has no access to the site. I bring this up because this is a common source of confusion or challenges for users. Why doesn't this app have access? Because it's running in delegated and the user itself does not have access. So I'm going to add my test user. Trust me that that's my test user to the thing. And if I come back here to my application, If everything goes well, hey, it did go well. So we now have access to that list, and we can see here's my big list. And so that's, great. That's as we would expect. I've got access to that list. And I can then, if I go into my code, of course, read all the items in that list. So let me spin this back up. And so giving this application permissions, it works very similar to how user permissions work. So permissions are inherited up and down the tree. You can break inheritance. These application permissions do break inheritance. And that's a very important thing to remember because all the service limitations and so forth would still apply. And so we've read our items, and here this list has thousands and thousands of items. We've gotten a bunch of them. That's really great. So let me very quickly then, and I'm sorry for rushing through this, but we had just the time we had here at the end. So what I'm going to do
you can take some extra time, Patrick. We can stay late.
Over to our list items application. So I've switched over to that. And here's my list call. So I've set the code back up to be the list call. And we're going to start this up. And we will go back to our page. And we will wait for our page to load here. And we will wait for our page to load here. Our little app is just, there we go. All right, come on. So if we start, we will, as expected, should get our access denied because we have not added the application to anything yet, right? Same issue. We haven't, the selected scopes themselves do not grant any access themselves. So we are going to bounce over to our browser window where I'm an admin. And on the same list, I am going to do a post, and I am going to grab the ID for our application here. And I am going to run that. And everything's worked. Great. I know my user has access to the site. So let's see here. We'll hit start. And we... All right, interesting. Something in my testing has not worked because I have gone too quickly. So this should be a 403. It's the list items scope. Does not actually grant permissions to the list itself. So that would have been a 403. And instead of trying to debug that, I think it's more important here to show you that now items have a... So I will say that step I just did worked earlier. So this is something with just trying to go through here too quickly. So lists, items to permissions. I'll run that. Item not found. Do I not have, sorry, one second, big list. Item ID 2. I think our demo might be falling apart a little bit here. What if we get so we get an item permissions. Is there stuff on the end there I'm not seeing? Well, boo. So we are beta. Apologies here for this. Anytime you try and move a little too quickly. Item 2 is still there. We haven't deleted it. Let's try item 3. We're not getting it back. So I am going to just go back and talk through this a little bit. So what you would have seen is you would have the ability then to set the permissions on a specific list item. And then what we would have seen, had everything gone smoothly in the demo, you would be able to enumerate the items in that list, and you would get back only the item or items that you had specific permissions to, just as if you were a user with access to only a limited set of items. And then as well, you would be able to get the items that you had access to by ID. So that would all work as expected. So I will pause there for questions. I'm sorry the demo kind of fell apart there in the middle. I will definitely record this and have a video out where things go. But what this really opens up is a set of scenarios where you could have your AI applications have access to a single document library to read through all of the items in that library for its grounding data. You could have set up scenarios where applications might have access to a single file or list. And we'll be working, now that we've got this rolling out, we'll be working with our partners to ensure that you'll be able to, there'll be scenarios where these are supported natively within installation. So you'll be able to install teams that will use the selected permissions to the sites they're created. You'll be able to have file pickers that when you pick a file can on the fly grant access to an application. So we're very excited about these scenarios and bringing this feature out. And again, apologies for kind of the falling apart demo there. So looking at the questions real quick, is it plan to see permissions in some UI? Yes, we're working with our partners on that as well. And then is the best possible way even in SharePoint? Apologies, I'm not sure what the second question means. Is the best possible way even in SharePoint for exposing the permissions? I'll just guess perhaps that's what you mean. And so the answer there would be yes. We'd be looking to under manage access. So right now you've got like people, groups, links. Imagine a tab here for apps is kind of the vision. But we've got to work with a couple different partner teams to make that a reality. So I don't have a timeline to share for that yet. This is for lists. This is for document libraries. This is for list items. So remember, libraries are lists under the hood. So they would work in the same fashion. Any limit to the number of lists that can be added? So this breaks permission inheritance, right? So it's subject to the same service limits that user permission inheritance is subject to within the service description for SharePoint. And with that, I'll throw it back over to David to close out our call. Thank you all so much.
Awesome. Very cool stuff, Patrick. Really, really appreciate that. Some exciting stuff on the horizon there, too, that we can start thinking of creative ways to use that. So really excited to see more. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all today, especially our presenters, Garry, Sam, and Patrick, passionate Microsoft employees that are doing their part to share with the community. We cannot say thank you enough. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, this call is going on a break. We were on a break, right? So we'll be back the 3rd of September. If you try to join during that time, you should actually get a little message that says we're on a break. If you use that direct Teams call, then you might actually get in a Teams meeting that's empty. But we'll try to have something in both places, but you will be able to see that it's on a break during that period. So we welcome everybody back the 3rd of September. Again, it's already been updated to reflect the change, but we can't update your actual invites on your calendar. So just know that it's not happening until 3rd of September. We welcome you to join our Discord server. We are part of the Cool Kids Club now. We've got our own server, which is really, really awesome for the community. It's a great place to kind of talk about a number of different things all in one location. A lot of members, 2,100 plus members of the community are there. So it's a cool, fun place to hang out, check it out, and wow your kids that you're on Discord. They will be proud of mom and dad. And of course, we'd love to know some feedback about the calls. Are they working for you? Are they not? What would you like to see improved? What do you love about them? This helps provide the management at Microsoft the resources and knowledge to know that you appreciate these calls and find them valuable so that we can get more resources to do more cool stuff for the community. All right, the recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft Community Learning, I can speak, and I will say, Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel, ak.ms/community/YouTube. You won't be able to download it from the Teams chat, so please don't try it. It'll just end up in tears and sadness. But if you go like and smash that subscribe button on YouTube, you will absolutely be notified as soon as it drops, usually much sooner than 24 hours. You can also follow us on Twitter or X or whatever we're going to call it next, M365PNP, as well as a LinkedIn site. Again, for discussions, you'll see the updates there. The next Microsoft 365 Power Platform MS Speakers call, September 3rd. So we got a couple of months, but those Thursday calls, they ain't going anywhere. So keep in mind that we will be there every Thursday. Again, rain, sleet, sunshine, whatever, holidays or not, we are going to have those Thursday calls. So we appreciate everybody. Thank you. Thank you to our presenters. Thank you to all you in the community who are spending time with us to share this knowledge. We would not have our community without you. So we really want to say thank you and appreciate all you're doing. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you all on Thursday call. Bye-bye.